Hey everyone! In my last video I talked about one of the ways in which I look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe compared to how other studios have gone about trying to adapt their cinematic universes. And one of the things that the way I see one of the ways that I see that Marvel adapts their cinematic universe differently is that Marvel is in a way taking their approach to comics and putting it onto the screen. They're taking the comic book storytelling and putting it on the screen. And that's different from what other studios have been trying to do. And in part, I think that's why other studios have not been able to succeed at building these cinematic universes, because they're not trying to go about and put the sort of comic book storytelling and comic book universe building onto the screen. They're trying to copy what they see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So instead of trying to go towards the basis of the idea, they're trying to copy what the end result is. I came about this idea from watching Screen Junkies, and one of the people on Screen Junkies, Spencer Gilbert, has talked about several times how he sees the Marvel movies as episodes in a long-running TV show. And I think I like that idea, but I think I tweaked it a little bit, because I think it's not so much episodes in a TV show, because, okay, this is more of a side note to what I'm talking about right now, but I don't really like it when people call the Marvel Cinematic Universe a single franchise, because it isn't a single franchise. Marvel Cinematic Universe is more of one universe built up of multiple franchises, not just one. I mean, you can't just say each movie is part of the same franchise, I think, because not just because they have different titles, but because, you know, these different franchises could exist easily exist independently. And I think that's one of the things that other companies haven't really understood when trying to make a cinematic universe, is that it's this weird thing that really only happens in comic books. You know, you don't really see this in other mediums. And I don't really know if there's a lot of different things that can really even work with this. But what you get with comic books is you have these different superheroes, and you just originally start them as it doesn't even matter how you start it, but each of these heroes can independently exist on their own, as we've seen in like the early superhero adaptations. You know, we've seen the X-Men for years without them being around other superheroes, and we've seen Spider-Man on his own, and, you know, we've seen these other superheroes. Now, the thing is, what Marvel has been able to do is like put them all together in one universe, and then put them together in certain movies. But the thing is, Iron Man can exist on his own without being part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you look at just the Iron Man movies, those movies can be, I'm not saying that the movies themselves, the way they are, can be taken out of the MCU and be fine, but I'm saying that the material itself can exist without the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a superhero with a super suit, and then even like their supporting casts and the sort of how their powers work. They're not. You have, you know, Iron Man's world, and then you have like Thor's world, and those things are really completely different. And the thing that the Marvel Cinematic Universe did was it allowed you to have these, you know, you have the world of Iron Man, the world of Thor, the world of, where am I going with this, Captain America, and allowed those things to coexist in the same universe. Now, where am I going with this? I don't know. Totally lost my train of thought. You can tell I don't script these things. But the reason I don't script these things is I kind of prefer the just train of thought, and also I'm lazy. I'm lazy. It takes time to write things, and then I'm bad at reading scripts, and I guess I could memorize the script, but then it would be I have a hard time performing things that I've written because I don't know, I feel much more self-conscious about it. But that's a whole different story for that's a whole different story for a whole different day. Anyway, so like I was saying, I don't like looking at the MCU as a single franchise, and that's why I don't really like the idea of looking at the MCU as a whole as a single TV show. But here's the way I look at it. See, the thing they do in comic books is after every while running a series, they'll take several issues and put it into a volume in a trade paperback and sell that. And so you have, you know, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, which is like made up of Amazing Spider-Man issues 1 through 5 or so, or something like that. And that's how I see the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then this is also important in how I feel like the series works as a whole with continuity in certain places. Because I feel like we're only getting certain volumes of the Marvel. We're only getting certain volumes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, especially as it goes on and you get more and more characters and more movies. See, the thing is, like, you can see Iron Man and Iron Man 2 as, like, you know, Iron Man volumes 1 and 2, which would be like collecting, would be, it's like the idea of, it's almost like it's adapting. It's almost like it's adapting Iron Man issues 1 through 10, you know, and like story arcs like that. But then you get to things like when things like Iron Man in Captain America Civil War, and it kind of feels like we missed a movie. Like, I'm not saying there would be enough material for a movie between Iron Man 3 and Captain America Civil War, but it felt almost like, you know, if this is, in my analogy, like a adaptation of these comic book volumes to series, it almost felt like, you know, you could have had an Iron Man 4 volume 4 that we just didn't get, and then that would have, in that movie we would have seen Tony Stark break up with Pepper Potts or what else, but you don't really need it in this case. And then also I don't know, it's just I thought it's one way of looking at the movies differently, and I think it sort of explains why Marvel has been able to do the cinematic universe where nobody else has really succeeded, because Marvel is adapting the way they tell comic books to the screen. And what everybody else is doing is they're looking at the end result of the cinematic universe, just like these multiple universes that tie together, and they're trying to tie their movies together. But that's not what Marvel was doing in the first place. Or at least what I'm saying they're doing. I don't know if that makes sense. Anyway, this is just a short video. I just wanted to put out that concept. I don't know if anybody else agrees with it. You know, it would have been great if there had been art or something, but I don't have the time or the skills to do that. Bummer. Anyway, if you like the idea of what I was talking about, feel free, or if you thought what I was saying was stupid and dumb, feel free to chime in the comments. I don't know, whatever. And I'll see you around in the next video.